Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Now that means that I'm on Twitter answering your questions. So if you use the hashtag KatieFAQ, then I went through as many of them as I could, and I'm going to answer some of them right now. And I also have a journal topic at the end to get you thinking, because that's always good. So without further ado, now the first two questions are kind of related, but also kind of different. But I put them back to back so that you can kind of understand both sides, I guess. Okay? So, question number 1. I can't hardly eat anything, but when I do, I don't keep it down. I am not currently underweight, so do I qualify for help or do I need to be smaller? Now, I get questions like this all the time. Many people wondering, do I have to be underweight? Which I actually have a video called, I think it's called, Can I Be Overweight and Still Have an Eating Disorder? I think that's the name of it, but you can probably search overweight and you'll find it. So, not that we have to be overweight, but even if we're at a normal weight, yeah, we can still have an eating disorder. A lot of people do. That's why they added binge eating disorder to the DSM. And we don't have to be small to be taken seriously. We don't have to be small to have an eating disorder. We don't have to be small to get help. We can always get help. So don't let that eating disorder voice tell you otherwise, because that's who's actually telling you that you're not sick enough and what you're doing is not enough and blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of shit. And to be honest, the sooner we get help, the better, and it's actually better for our bodies to get help sooner, because the longer we starve ourselves or binge or purge or a combination of all of the things that I just mentioned, the longer we do that, the harder it is on our body and the harder it is to recover, okay? Now, question number 2 is, why do some people say that you can be overweight and anorexic, yet the DSM states otherwise? Now, we can't have the diagnosis of anorexia and be overweight. That's just not how it works. It's part of the diagnostic criteria that we are. If you watch my anorexic video I put out 2 years ago, my anorexia nervosa video, you'll see I talk about the diagnostic criteria. Now, what has changed within the DSM is that if we're overweight and we have a lot of the same tendencies as an anorexic person, or as most of the criteria except for the weight, then we would have eating disorder not otherwise specified, or EDNOS, which I believe they've changed the name of it. And I talked about it before, but I hate the way they've changed it. It's stupid. It's like eating or feeding disorder not otherwise something. It's like a really ridiculous. Sometimes the DSM pisses me off, but that's what you would most likely be diagnosed with. I don't know what it is within the community where people think one diagnosis is better than the other, because they're all horrible. We need to fight to be free of it, because having that nagging voice all the time is not healthy and it's not normal and nobody likes it. And I don't care if you think one is better or worse than the other. Trust me, none of the people with any of those diagnoses are happy about it. So let's all work together, right? Let's break through the stigma, help people help themselves and help one another. And I have a free eating disorder workbook on my website, Katimorton.com, that can help you get started. Okay, hope that clears that up. Question number 3. Hey, Katie, I have a question. I've recently had my first therapy appointment, and she was nice, and I had a good feeling about it. But I haven't been honest with her, and I haven't told her everything. Is it normal to lie and to not tell everything in the beginning? Now, the reason I'm talking about this, and I know I've talked about it in the past, is because I get questions like this all the time. I even get comments or questions where they're like, I can't tell my real therapist, but I want to tell you, and then they'll tell me what's going on. And the thing about it is, first of all, yes, it's normal. It's normal to not want to tell them the whole truth, because let's be honest, we don't know them. We're getting to know them, and it can be really awkward at first, and they might have a lot of questions about your history, and they might ask you a lot of stuff, and you just don't really elaborate. That's normal. It's kind of our own defense mechanism to keep us kind of safe and not let people in too quickly and things like that. So give yourself time, breathe, it's okay. And the fact that maybe later on you may go back and amend some of the things you said, like, I know when we first met I told you such and such happened, but that's actually not really how it happened. What really happened is, and you go into it. And as a therapist, we're expecting that. I have clients, as bad as it sounds, I have clients lie to me all the time, and half the time I know they're lying to me, but it doesn't matter, because I know in their own time they will tell me. And so as long as you keep working on it, you keep talking to your therapist the best you can and working through things and just doing the best you can, it's going to be fine. And he or she, whoever your therapist is, will understand, and you can, change your story later when you feel more comfortable and more able to tell the truth. Okay? Question number 4. Welcome back, Katie. I'm unsure of how to ask this question, but here's the situation. A couple of weeks ago, I was a victim of a form of sexual assault. I'm dealing with the common symptoms one does with after that happens to a person, but I'm unsure if something I did is considered a symptom or not. I was feeling vulnerable and experiencing flashbacks to former traumas. I tried to get my mind off the current situation and found a person that I thought I could console with. One thing led to the next, and we actually ended up having sex. I wish that I could go back in time and stop myself from doing that. I'm currently working with my therapist on both of those things. I wrote a letter to her explaining all of this, and we're working on it. The form of sexual assault does bother me. So does the sex with that person because he was a professor of mine. And now I feel like I won't be able to tell her that part out of fear. I'm wondering if this is common for victims. Thanks. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. First of all, the assault, and now that this is just kind of all compiling on one another. Oftentimes, if we've been previously assaulted, or if we're children of incest or sexual assault in our past, or we've been abused, it's very common for us to struggle to set our own boundaries. Now, with that being said, I guess what I'm trying to say is when someone's broken through our boundaries repeatedly and everything's on their timetable and they don't care what we think and they don't care if we say no and we have no say, we sometimes forget our own voice. And that can definitely happen later on until we properly worked through it and processed through the trauma, which I'm so glad you're seeing someone. And any of you out there have had this similar situation, please, please, please see a therapist, someone who is good with working through traumas and has experience in this realm, because it can be so helpful. And I know sometimes it gets a little worse before it gets better, but it does get better. So having said all of that, it's very common for us to find ourselves being a victim again. Not that you were saying that you were a victim in this sexual situation, but it almost feels wrong, or we feel like everything's our fault and the sex that we have is tainted, and we have all this baggage, and we have all these things that we believe in our head, or that those voices tell us because of our previous assaults or incest or rape or whatever has happened. We'll have those voices coming up, but it's not your fault. This is just something we have to work through. Oftentimes we have to learn how to put up boundaries. We have to learn how to say no. We have to learn to say what we feel and what makes us comfortable, and to take our time. And if we're in a relationship with someone and we decide we want to have sex, we can take our time with it. We need to have someone who understands and will meet us where we're at, right? And it's okay. And I know that healing from trauma like that is really hard, but know that it is not your fault at all. And we're just relearning how to have boundaries, how to have happy, healthy sexual relationships, and, feel okay about it. Okay? I hope that helps explain. And if any of you have had similar situations, let us know what's helped you, because I'm trying to build a community where everybody helps everybody and we share in our experiences, because it is really powerful, right? Now, the journal topic of the day. When I was studying for my tests, there is a form of therapy called narrative therapy. And it's not anything that I've ever heard of anyone using, but it's one of the potential therapies that we can be tested on. And so there's 11 that you're responsible for, and you have to know about them. But I really enjoyed the fact that part of narrative therapy, just like it sounds, a narrative, is you can change your story. That's what the whole goal is. And so the way that they have you do that is by changing the story you tell yourself first. So your own internal story. So what I encourage you all to do is to take the time to notice what story you tell yourself. Is it, I'm a horrible person, everything is terrible, nothing's ever going to work out, I'm going to go here, I'm going to fail this test, and then I'm going to lose my job, and blah, blah, blah. Did we tell ourselves that negative, problem-saturated story? Or is our story in the middle? Are we some days are bad and some days are good, or are we all positive? I want you just to notice. If you're a journaler, maybe journal some bullet points about the story you tell yourself. And then I want you to try to change it for the positive. Change those negatives to positive one by one, and repeat the story to yourself with those new added in positive highlights. And I promise you, you will feel so much better. I've been practicing it on my own, and it is really helping. So I hope you like that. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow, because you know what? It's finally Friday. And I will be in Seattle. So I'm flying to Seattle tonight to meet up with my girlfriend Ashley, and then my family, because I'm an aunt now and I got to go see my niece. And so I'll be vlogging from there. So I will see you all, and I'll be gone next week in Washington. I'll try to keep up with my vlog videos, but if I miss one, it's just because I'm busy enjoying time with my family. Okay? I'll talk to you later. Bye!